And those first three notes actually have the words Lebe wohl, which is the motto of the whole piece.
Written under them on the score.
Right. And so that's an interesting moment, one of the rare moments where Beethoven brings words into a sonata or some instrumental piece.
He named pieces very rarely. This is one of them. Only a few. Pastoral, maybe the Pathetique, a few others. But this was written for his patron, Archduke Rudolph, who was supporting him a lot, whom he, in spite of everything, occasionally be saying, Rudolph is ruining my life, but basically he kind of liked Rudolph. Rudolph was going away, so he wrote the sonata as a present. And the thing about Beethoven and program music, and this piece is intensely programmatic, it's, packing up and going, missing, and the return. His stated position was that he didn't believe in program music, but he did it anyway. He used to make fun of Haydn for programmatic stuff in his late oratorios, but the pastoral has thunder and lightning and brooks, and he was very good at program music actually. And this is,
I'd say so.
For the piano sonatas, this is the most overt. But here's the thing, I think it's really important. Beethoven said more than once, everything I write has an image or a story behind it, and I write according to that story or that image. But he very rarely told us what it was. But I think the emotional consistency, the sense of storytelling that he has, which was really, it's kind of something he brought to music. That sense that a piece of music is a unified story in all its movements. I think he virtually invented that.
I learned in this book something I didn't know after years of playing the sonata, which is that he did not want it to be referred to as the Les Adieux.
He wrote a wonderful letter to the French publisher because he didn't find out what it was called until it was published.
Okay.
And he said, why did you call it Les Adieux? And he does a disquisition on the difference between Lebe wohl and adieu, both of which mean goodbye. But he says that you can say adieu to groups of people, to a whole town, but Lebe wohl is personal, he said. It's a different goodbye. Plus the fact that you can't do adieu.
It's basically Three Blind Mice, isn't it? I mean, but that fact that he gives that.
I know.
I mean, that's really just that when this comes in, that C, which in a way already sets up the anxiety of the second movement, the pathos of the second movement.
Yeah, there's another rule of Beethoven. Anything important in a piece is going to be foreshadowed, one way or another. I was studying the Fifth Symphony, and there's the famous fog before the finale. It just goes into this kind of pulsing fog. And I said, I've never thought of this before, but there's a fog before the finale. There's going to be a fog earlier, and there is. The second movement goes into a fog several times. It just sort of drifts off. Dum, bum, 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 da, 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 da. The first movement of the transition to the recapitulation, it goes into a fog. So the fog is thematic.
So even the idea itself can even if it's not a note or a harmony or something, it can just be even a sound world or a conception which.
It can be a texture, it can be a move, it can be a rhythm. There's that famous time when he wanted to humiliate a pianist that was people thought might be better than him, and he took a cello part off his string quartet, turned it upside down, and picked out a few notes upside down at random. And Czerny was there, and he said that theme was constant. But that's how he always composed. He took a small idea, presented right at the beginning, da 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 dum, and it's there all the way to the last notes in the piece. But it constantly changing guises. So what you heard, what you just played, is we hear it in the top voice, but it's completely changed. It's developed. I always always choke up at that ending. It's harmonically so wild, these overlapping harmonies, in a way that suggests, fading away, echoing. It's echoes. And that's the Lebewohl motif, fading into the distance. It's really extraordinary. As a biographer, I try not to be too literary. I don't want to be. A person's life isn't like a book. It doesn't make that kind of sense. But I do think that a person's life is variations on themes. There are themes that keep coming back, and they develop and they change. And so those become the themes of the book, not because I believe in making literary themes, but because I think life is really like that. And I want to make my books more like life and less like a book. And so I've been accused of wandering and drifting, and I do. But that's what life is like. And some people say, this, that, and the other, it doesn't make sense. Why would he do that? It doesn't make sense. And my answer is life doesn't make sense.